We're continuing today in Matthew chapter 6, which is part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And it reminded me of a story of when I was on a basketball team that played a game about every week. And on this particular night, we played against a team that was comprised of all former college players. And to say the least, it was a long night for our team. And now, what made it okay, though, was that night, my son David, who at the time was a junior higher and just an avid basketball fan and player himself, came to watch. He wanted to watch us play. And as we would come over to the bench for timeouts and at the end of the game, his encouragement and his smiles and his high fives and even his attaboys were so appreciated. And I realized that even though he was the only one in the stands, it was well worth it. And I was playing, I should say, for an audience of one that night. That reminded me of, reminds me today of this passage that Jesus gives us from Matthew chapter 6. Beginning with verse 1, he says, "Watch out. Don't do your good deeds publicly to be admired by others, for you will lose your reward from your Father in heaven. When you give to someone in need, don't do as the hypocrites do, blowing trumpets in the synagogues and the streets to call attention to their acts of charity. I tell you the truth, they have received all their reward that they will get. But when you give to someone in need, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Give your gifts in private, and your Father who sees everything will reward you." Jesus is telling us that when we give money or when we're generous with our time to help others out, don't do it for the attaboy, attagirl recognition or the chance that you might get something back in return from them. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Do it because we're thankful for what God's done for us. Do it because we live to please our audience of one. And he goes on to talk a little bit more about praying and fasting in the same way. And it turns out that some in Jesus' day did that, praying out in front of others so that everybody would say, "Wow, look at that person. Aren't they a great Christian?" And Jesus says, no. He says the purpose of prayer and the purpose of fasting is to draw us closer as people of God to our wonderful giving God. Now, Jesus tells us that there is a reward, but it's a different kind of reward. It's not the kind of reward where it's a quid pro quo thing. I give so I get something back. No. We give and we pray and we fast and we do these acts of charity because we are in love with a God who was first the greatest giver of all. And he continues to give amazingly. And he forgives and he loves and he guides and he challenges and he comforts us. And our reward is a deepening and more intimate relationship with him. Now, this makes very little sense to those who might be looking on from the outside. But for those of us who are following Jesus, we know that there's nothing better. And that my prayer for each of us is that as we go about our days, that we will live for an audience of one, and that our words and our actions and our giving and our thoughts would all be motivated by our desire to love God more deeply, to say thanks to the one who has given us so much in the first place. I just encourage you, go out and have an audience of one day today. God bless.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.